Are you able to hear me now? Sorry, remote students, are you able to hear me now? Okay, so I'll repeat again for you remote students. So once you open up your software, first thing you want to check is that your units are in millimeters. So just type in units and then make sure that you're working with millimeters. Next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your ortho mode down here at the bottom is turned on and that all of your snap cursors are turned on as well. All right, these will help us find relationships between certain points in our geometry. Now, what I was explaining for the face-to-face class is I'm going to start by drawing this this baseline here, right? From this point across to this point. To do that, I will be using the numbers 113 and half of this diameter 75. So it'll be half of the diameter. So 75 divided by 2 plus 113. Now, instead of using a calculator and finding that value and then putting it into the software, I can actually enter an equation into AutoCAD. So to do that, I'll start my line command, specify a first point. I'll type in apostrophe CAL, spacebar or enter bar, and then the equation, which is 75 divided by 2 plus 113, and then enter. Now, if I want to just check that that's correct, I can actually just go and measure that point, that line, and it comes to 150.5. All right, so is that clear for you guys? The rest of the process of actually drawing the shape, drawing lines and all that, it's kind of been covered in previous labs, lab 1 and lab 2. So there should be no difficulties there. Only new thing that I'm introducing is using the calculation method to determine your line lengths. Don't worry, this session is being recorded, so I will be uploading this again at the end of the day for you guys to work on over the next week. So again, I'm gonna use another equation to find the distance from this line here down to this line here. So my equation would be the 75 minus the 28 to find this line length from this point down to this point. So I'm gonna type apostrophe CAL space 75 minus 28, enter. Yes. Mm. Okay. Okay, from my center point to this line here, what would be my distance from this center line to this hidden line over here? What will be my distance? Half of 56, yes? This line and this line represent that 56 diameter. So from the center line to that line would be half of 56, which is 28. So from my center line, I'll draw a line that is 28 long, 10 mm down, and then back to my center line. So the same again for the bottom, 28 across, 10 up, and then back to my center line. You might have difficulty drawing this center line if you don't have your midline turned on, your midpoint turned on in your snaps, because it won't be able to snap you directly to the midpoint of this line here. Also make sure that your perpendicular is turned on, as well as your apparent intersection. Those are the most important ones to turn on for this particular drawing. Remote students, are you able to follow along with me? Remote students, are you able to follow along with the demonstration? Okay, so quickly, just how I drew this shape, if you were a bit confused as to what line lengths I'm using. I used my equation, 75 divided by 2 plus 113 to find this length. The total height here is 75 from the drawing, and across is 28. From this point down, I used another equation, 75 minus 28 to find this point. And then I started another line over here, went up 75, across 75, and then down again using that equation, 75 minus 28, and then just join these 2 points. After that, this midpoint, this line, I drew using my midpoint snapper. So I just started my line command, move my mouse over this line until I hit the midpoint symbol. The midpoint symbol looks like a triangle. Eh? So that little triangle shows me my midpoint, and that's why I started my line and connected it down to this bottom baseline. And then I drew a short line from this point, the midpoint, across 28, down by 10, and then back to my midline, and did the same at the bottom. 28 across, 10 up, and then back to my baseline. Now I'll do a similar thing for this long hidden line that's in our drawing. This long hidden line here. So from the center point to that line, what would the distance be? 19. Half of 38, 19. So similar to how we did the 2 squares above, I draw a short line from this point across 19 and then connect it down to my base down here. Okay, so in your handout, you have these lines here. These are extension lines for the dimension line. So this point shouldn't extend above using your hidden lines, if you get what I mean, right? So this line here and this line here are for the dimension lines and not for your drawing lines. So that's why I did my 19 from this point across and down, not from the top across and down. So you'll have something like this, and we've already used the mirror tool before, so I'm just going to mirror this about my midpoint. Okay, this activity here is very simple compared to the one you'll be doing next week. Next week, you've got a lot harder activity to try and draw. This object is very complicated. So if this one today is going to take us 3 hours, this one is going to take us 6 hours. So please try and work a little bit fast if you can. The fillet will be one of the last things you try and add. The fillet radius here will be one of the last things we add. First, we draw all of our lines, our hidden lines, our center lines this side. Draw all that first, and then we're going to do the fillet. Most students, this recording will end in about 9 minutes, at which point I'll start another Zoom meeting with the same login information, okay? And I will continue from there. Right now, I'm just gonna mute my mic and go around the face-to-face classroom, and then I'll continue with the demonstration.